It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. It really is. A beautiful day in the neighborhood. Would you be mine? Whew. Am I breathing hard? Could you be mine? Would you be my neighbor? Join us. Welcome, everybody. I am, join us now. I put, then share, then write post, then post.
I know. I hate the new Facebook platform.
Didn't I tell? Remember I told you
terrible.
when the share party went away?
Mm-hmm.
It's horrible. So welcome everybody. Welcome Renato. I'd like to speak on the show today in regards to policing. I am the safety security chair. We'll get you a number in a little while. A lot going on. I was just driving in, and I think I'm going to do this summer broadcast from the car and drive around. I'm going to do Pridgen in the car.
Hey, well, let's do it.
And then we can, since we can stop when people are outside and talk about whatever the topic is.
Is this so? This part of that David Letterman comment you made last night, because you know how they always have those road reporters.
Yeah, no, as I was driving in, and people were waving and stuff like that. I was like, wow, this would have been cool if I was in the middle of a topic and could just talk about it. Because the other day, now it's getting nice outside. People blocking the street. I'm coming to church. And it's like 4 cars blocking, I won't say what street, but a street. Now, I sit there patiently while they literally
Have the full conversation.
Well, not only the conversation, but one car, they were dancing.
Oh, shoot.
So now another car is behind me. He not as it's not that I'm patient, but it was just like, I'm just going to sit here and see how long they're going to block this street.
Ross said, open your wings like the Batmobile.
I wish my car did fly, but they are coming. I do believe a hover round is going to be a hover car soon.
Absolutely.
So I sat there and just staring, like, are you really serious? So you had 2 cars in the conversation. So that's blocking that side. Then the other car is on the other side, and they're out dancing. Finally, somebody behind me who wasn't as patient and who wasn't as Christian jump out and say, I can't even say on the radio what he said to them. And then the guy joked back to him, and then he said, I can't even spell stuff. I don't play da-da-da-da-da. So one car moves over a little. I'm able to squeeze through. And then they look in the window, man, that's Pridge. So now they slapping me up because it was a nice day, so my window was down. And now there's traffic held up, and I'm feeling like now I'm
the one in charge.
Now I'm the one. So I was thinking about doing, Pridgen in the car or the people in the car and just stop. This is in the summer, when it's nicer out and more people have been vaccinated. Maybe I could have a boom mic because I don't want them talking into my phone. Can you imagine that?
Well, all these reporters then came up with all these innovative polls that look like.
See, I didn't even know that.
Rigs.
Oh, you mean like the news and stuff?
Yeah. They done made things to put mics on.
Yeah. So I would have loved to have a conversation on that street.
Yeah.
I would have loved, hey, what do you all think about? Good to talk to everybody. I got, first of all, George Floyd. The trial. I was just listening, and I was a cop in the Air Force. I know about handcuffs, and I mean, obviously we didn't have as much activity. Definitely not in the Air Force. But most of our activity would happen on Friday and Saturday night when people would go to the NCO club and to all that, and they would get drunk, and then you had to restrain. But one of the head of homicide, I think, is on the stand right now. It was before I got here. And he was talking about once you have somebody in handcuffs, because when you put your hands behind your back, it already upsets your breathing because you have stretched all the muscles backwards. And they are considered less of a threat. No need to further heavy restrain them.
Right.
And you are to get them seated up as soon as possible so they can breathe. And everybody knows, anybody knows. You got me down on the ground. You got your knee on my neck, and I'm in the prone position, which is flat out. Mm-hmm. So this is the head of detectives having this conversation. The head of homicide, having this conversation.
Wow.
So this is a really, I think, tender moment for this nation. Mm-hmm. And what's going to happen if this man is not convicted? I think we got to think about that. But even if he is, I think we still have to think about and not just reimagine policing. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to say this, and I'll probably get some critics, and I'm okay with this. The reason we need to reimagine policing is not just for African Americans, but it's also for some police out there, really good police officers,
right,
who are forced to now be so militarized in order to fit in. This is what you got to understand when you're a police officer. You always have to depend on your colleagues, mm-hmm, because there's some situations you go to you can't handle by yourself.
Right.
If your colleagues hate you, mm-hmm, because if you got colleagues that treat people bad, and then you're kind of like as Rashid says, the kumbaya person. Mm-hmm. Now when you need backup, it might not be as aggressive and as you need in a really bad situation.
And let's just be honest, the police force or any of these, we'll just stick with the police force. It's just basically a fraternity. So
I wish it was a fraternity, but it is the fraternity.
So it's basically, it's a brotherhood with some sisters in it. And like you said, if you aren't doing what the rest of the brotherhood are doing, you're just the outsider. And if you don't have that support, like, no, I don't know if anyone gets in the police force just to be a beat cop the whole career. Mm-hmm. You eventually want to progress. Well, to progress, you got to have the favor of your brothers.
Yes.
And so, like, if you're always that outcast, then you never get that chance to move up.
Exactly, Mark. And that's why I think it's so necessary to change the culture.
Absolutely.
And to change how they see themselves, mm-hmm, and what their job is. Now, this is an important, and I know I may be passionate and maybe overly passionate about this, but what I have to let everybody know, I want you to hear me well. I was on the Board of Education. I left the Board of Education before my term was up. And I was clear that, first of all, my role in the church was expanding. I needed to concentrate more, mm-hmm, here. But there was a watershed moment that I will share today, and I think I've shared it lightly. I have always, when I was elected and am elected, everybody knows our thing, power to the people. Mm-hmm. When we ride through Juneteenth and those folks are screaming at us and boosting us and the music is playing, I mean that. I have, when I first ran for this office and I said this should be the theme because that's my personality,
right, power
to the people. Some said you shouldn't do that because it's going to look like the 60s movements. And I still held on to it. Mm-hmm. I still believe it. I'm on the Board of Education. The state was giving the city $1 billion to redo schools.
Yep.
Coming through the state. I'm on the board. I represent the people. Mm-hmm. I was an at-large member, which means I was voted on by the entire city. I didn't have a district. I was an at-large member. So that meant I represented the feelings of people all over the city.
Right.
They put a committee together to decide to vet companies to do to head the $1 billion project. Mm-hmm. $1 billion. There is, I believe, one member of the Board of Education that was on it. There were other people on it. Now, I think, if I'm not mistaken, that, Mazziola was the mayor. So I want to be clear that this was not this administration. That's $1 billion. I want to say it again, $1 billion. Mm-hmm. I am in a meeting with the school superintendent and some of the other board members and the board member who was part of the team that was supposed to vet. And this is what I hear in that meeting. We are going with company such and such. And I said, wait. When is this being vetted by the public? When are you going to, because they had told the public we were coming back to you.
Right.
And this was what I was told. And I will not mention the school board member's name, but this person looked me in my face and said, I've been elected to make decisions for the people. And they're going to have to trust me on this. And my response was, you haven't been elected to make decisions for the people. You have been elected to represent the people. Right. Which means you have to know what they feel. A few weeks later, and I was a little younger, I was out of there. And I was out of there because, yes, my response, I had already was going, I don't know why I'm on this Board of Education, because the last thing that they were talking about was education at that time. I got on the Board of Education because I really wanted to improve education in the city of Buffalo. Right. But there was very little talk about education. Most of the talk was about buildings and grounds and contracts of adults. So for me, the children are being left off. And when you're one of several and you don't have the power, I was head of student support. I'm the one who came up with the code of conduct with my colleagues. I was the head of the Big Five, which means the chairman of the Big Fives, which is Syracuse and New York City and all that. But the conversation here locally was not about education. And I knew that if I was working with colleagues that felt that they made decisions for the people without hearing from the people, let me move out of the way. Right. And y'all make decisions, but that's not how I operate. So I want to be clear on what my heart is in what I'm going to talk about next, because it's just who I am. When I got to the Common Council, for you to see the Common Council meeting, you had to look at a replay on public access. I got it live, and I wasn't the president. And I remember being told, well, we don't have the technology. And I said, okay, if I can be live at True Bethel, right, I'll bring my phone and I'll put us on live. Right. And they figured it out. But there was a hesitancy from some to go live. And not only did I get us live on the internet, I got us live on public access so that people were able to watch. Yep. Every single thing that I believe in government hinges on transparency, because studies have shown, and people, you don't even have to do a professional study. Ask people, one of the things they don't trust car salesmen, they don't trust elected officials, used car salesmen, elected officials, audit, right? About transparency, because when you go to get a used car, what do? I'm going to go talk to the manager. Yep. You ain't a part of that conversation. They're in there eating donuts, laughing, going, shoot, that's all they asked for, to go down, stay in here about 5-10 more minutes, then go out and make them think they got a deal. In government, the more transparent you can be about the people's business, it's my opinion, the better it is. Absolutely. When we are right now watching, and you got to realize, I'm a black man in America. I've had my incidents, and one of the ones, it wasn't even me, Monique, and I tell this story, there was a traffic stop that we helped get rid of, by the way, we helped get rid of. I don't want anybody to, remember, I asked for the data. So where people may forget, let me remind you, because the receipts are there. And at the end of it, with the people, though, let me say this, not as if Darius Pridgen got rid of it. It was the people also who were rising up saying, this is not fair. And so I asked for data. The council supported that. And they're gone. My wife gets in one of these traffic stops, so that's why people might not understand. I'm not exempt from it. Every day I'm still a black man in America. My wife gets stopped, recognizes.
Let's put the actual term, checkpoints.
Checkpoints. Right. What did I say?
You were saying traffic stops.
Oh, yeah, so the checkpoints, so that people do understand. The officer looks at her. She gives the license or whatever. Because he knew a friend of hers, he's out flexing with another officer. This is a black officer, and tells her, all right, you can carry your A on. My wife is livid. Of course, I make the call. I'm on the council. I make the call. And basically, it was like, well, that's how. That's how he is. His father is on the force. No, hey.
No, that's still unacceptable.
No. That was the culture that he thought he could curse at her in front of another officer and it was okay. That has to change.
Yep.
So I want to be clear of why I voted against the reform package. Now, people who are watching may not even understand. I want to give you a quick 101. The governor, after all of the righteous protests, says to cities, in order for you to get some funding, let's just put it like that, and it's $10 million, I think, $10, $11 million.
Yeah, state this, whatever the state aid is.
You have to reinvent and reimagine your police force.
Yep.
Now, there is a guy that went with that said there should be public engagement. Basically, there should be public input. There should be not just a comment period, but there should be basically where the public, not just the groups. And I want to be clear because the calls we get into our office are not from organized groups.
Yes.
It is from individuals who say, hey, wait a minute, hey, what about me?
Yeah, when can my voice be
When
heard?
can my voice? So I first of all want to thank the 20-something volunteers, however many it was, who were on the commission. Because to me, they didn't have to do it. Mm-hmm. So I want to be clear. This is not about people. This is about a procedure.
Yep.
At the end of the day, the council got the finished draft, or so I should say the draft of what Buffalo was reimagining their police force.
The reform plan.
My only, right, because it is a plan that goes to the governor once. I want to be clear. For the governor to release this $10 or $11 million. It goes to the governor once. We cannot amend what goes to the governor. So I want to be clear. We can always amend our own city plan.
Exactly.
That was never the question. We cannot amend this plan that goes to the governor that has all of these things we were supposed to do, which my fear is because some of those things were truly not done, that it could still be rejected. And we could either be delayed. I don't think the governor would say you can't have it at all, but it would be delayed. Here was my only problem. It was not with the people who did the plan. It wasn't even with the plan. Because at the end of the day, if I loved or hated the plan, the people who have put me in this seat were not able. Now, there was a 4.5 day comment period. But what I was clear about, a comment period is not the same as a conversation.
Right, there's not dialogue.
There's no dialogue. So the lady on Monroe who wanted it to be heard, she's not in a group. So she wasn't represented. She, the woman who called from Lovejoy, all of these people called and said, wait. So I was asked to do a special meeting on Wednesday. I agreed.
Yep.
But what I said is the only way I can do within my conscience. Folks, this is not, I want you to hear me. This is not about politics. This is really about my heart of when you are an elected official, you hear from the people, even if you don't like it. Mm-hmm. 10 years, I've had people come in that council and chew me up and spit me out. And I sat my behind there and I took it.
Yep.
Because even if I didn't agree, but then I've had people came in and chewed us up, and I made policy about what they were upset about or the changes they needed.
We've sat in meetings and did the same thing.
Right? We have sat, we have listened, we have taken the bruising, and then that which we can change that makes sense, we do.
Absolutely.
We got sued by the bail bondsman or taken to court while I was working on getting them a space.
Yes, you did.
Am I right or wrong?
Yep.
And what did I do? I listened. I made the adjustments that we were already making.
Yep.
It's a part of the job. So, and I want to say this because I really respect my colleagues. And we had 2 members who did a yeoman's job. If we hadn't had those 2 members on, what I'm told, now I wasn't in the meetings. They were not public meetings. that I know of. I wasn't given a Zoom to. So if it hadn't have been for them, that we wouldn't have even had the lead program in that document. So I want to say thank you to Mitch Nowakowski and to Rivera. So those of you out there, listen, don't give them a hard time, because they were on. This is not about giving anybody a hard time. I don't want you to give anybody a hard time. This is about process. And so I think people need to understand that this is a democratic way. This is what the charter says. So when, now people are trying to say, oh, Pridgen and Brown are fighting. I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm fighting for the good of the people. I'm not fighting a person. Stop that mess. Absolutely. I'm not fighting anybody. This isn't a war now, and it really is not. I'm doing my job. That's all I'm doing. I'm doing what people have elected me to do, and what they did not elect me to do is to be in no boxing ring every day and trying to go after a person. This ain't got nothing to do with a person. This has to do with one of the biggest moments. This moment to me is bigger than the $1 billion school construction project, because we are talking about changing the aura of policing in the second largest city in the state of New York. And that, to me, brothers and sisters, deserves an airing. It deserves not just a 4.5 day comment period, but even, so some people say, well, you were going to have a meeting Wednesday, and would people have been able to speak? That was what I wanted, but not just speak to us. I wanted someone there to comment back from either the administration or that team. Right. And this is why. There are certain things that people out there are asking for that we cannot do because of state law. Tell the people so that they don't continue to say it and blame the council. Right. That way they can go to Tim Kennedy's office, Crystal's office, anybody else's office, and say, hey, this is the state law, and this is the state law we want changed. Right. But if they don't know, they can't go. Right. The second, or I don't know if I'm a second, third, was someone saying, well, Pridgen, you can call a meeting even after we vote. That's not true. Go back and look at the meeting. You can go back. Because when I say it's not true, then I ask our attorney, am I right? And what does the attorney say? You're right. You have to have an item. Why am I going to ask the public's opinion after I've already voted? Right. That document, and it's gone. The document is gone. So now you want to talk about patronizing. Oh, now I want to know your opinion, and the document is gone. So I wanted to be clear. People saw, snips on the news. Like I said, this is, I'm too old, and I pray that I have enough wisdom to know that this is not a fight with people, and it is okay. This is where people get it mixed up, and where they thought, oh, he's a rubber stamp here. No. It is okay for me to differ even with my colleagues, and it's okay for me to differ with the administration. But at the end of the day, when a vote is taken, a vote is taken. And then I voted no, along with two of my other colleagues. We voted no, but I didn't vote no against the plan. I voted no against the process. Yep. Because if there had been a process, I don't know, I may have voted different. But when I recognized that the people who put me here, who were saying, we want answers, we want to hear back, we want to be a part of the conversation, they weren't. That's who pays me. Yeah. I'm paid by these people out here to represent their interests. Now, do we always knock it out of the box? No. Do we always please everybody? No. But the one thing nobody will ever be able to accuse me of is not working, and not working my behind off for the people and the people's interests.
Absolutely.
Granny says, sad and crazy that it would come to them not doing their job, means show up to help. She's talking about the trial, I think. Yep. So Diane says they do that on my street too. They better not be doing those stops on your street, the checkpoints.
No, she was talking about blocking traffic.
Oh, blocking traffic. I'm trying to catch up to everybody who's online and what you're saying. So I just wanted to be very clear there. that, my grandson is sitting to the right of me. He's tall. He's a black man. I got to be concerned. I got to be concerned about people, black and brown people. Just as concerned we were about the vaccine and about COVID and about keeping each other alive. I got to be just as concerned, because the one thing that does not change about me, I got a COVID stomach, my hair is different than it was. One thing that doesn't change is my skin color.
That's big facts.
I'm still a black man living in America. And I remember, and I'll try to move on from this, but I remember a police officer who was in training, a black African-American police officer in training. He's being trained, and he told me this himself. He's being trained by a white officer. They are in this area of the church. They ride past True Bethel, and the white officer says to this trainee coming in, "I hate him." Talking about me.
Wow.
Not knowing that I have a very close relationship with this trainee. So which means if I don't know what I did for him to hate me. I have no idea.
Probably nothing.
But he was comfortable enough to basically put into the head of a trainee hate about somebody who ain't did nothing but try to help as many people as I possibly can. But that was acceptable. And when that becomes acceptable, you can't tell me that there does not need to be a change in the culture. I think that police officers should be seen in the same light as firefighters.
Absolutely.
There's a saying that nobody hates a firefighter. Because when the firefighter shows up, he's showing up to save your life. So if we could shift that same mentality.
It's supposed to be to protect my life.
To protect my life. And if we shift that where the officers feel that way, I think they go home less stressed, because this is a benefit for us all. They go home less stressed. They know that the public then is going to support them. Let a firefighter get off a truck and somebody start cussing them out. The people around going to be like, "Fool,
right.
He here to get that cat out the tree." We have officers like that. I was at the ribbon cutting for the store on Utica and Ferry. Line was around the corner. Really nice store, by the way. What did I say? Utica and Ferry. I'm sorry. See, this is why I got to keep young minds around. Utica and Fillmore, because I talk so fast, because I got to get everything in an hour. The line was around the building. It's a nice store. It's not a deli. It's a supermarket, like a supermarket.
That was his intention.
Yeah, and he did it. So some of the officers who came in who were from this area, and it was a lot of them that came in. They flowed in there like, it was about 5 of them. But the people knew them. One of them is all of the officers who were in that store, very, very personable, very nice, and they've climbed the ranks, but they're nice to people. That's the celebration and the aura you want. So that even if they got arrested, if you did wrong, let me be clear. If you did wrong, you did wrong. And you're supposed to be arrested. But it's also in the way you're arrested. You're not supposed to be killed. You're not supposed to be beat up because you said a curse word to a police officer. And the police officer should go home alive, and you should go home alive, or wherever you're going, or to the holding center, or to wherever. That's my feeling.
Now, I was going to go back to your other story about just that culture. And sometimes the culture isn't even department-wide.
Yeah.
I think could be even district-wide or division-wise, because I've been in parts of the city, and officers are nice, whether they're white, black, or whatever the race. Hey, man, go ahead and get that worked on. Go ahead today, right?
Yep.
You're like, "Thank you, officer. I got it." But I've been, and I had an incident recently.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
I was very upset. But once I calmed down and looked at the whole picture, my issue turned from how the incident went down, but to every time I've been in this part of the city, I feel like they overticket. Because every time I've gotten a ticket in this part of the city for the same offense, it's 5 to 7 tickets.
Yep.
And I got to go to now, take a day off, go to court, and defend. And
Yep.
it's just like, but you could have did this with like one and a warning. Like,
Yep.
It is just, like you said, that culture, whether if it's taught to do it that way, like, hey, throw everything at them, something will stick. But I don't think that breeds good relationships when the model should be protect my life. Hey, man, come on, just take care of this to protect everyone else on the road.
You hit the nail right on the head. At the end of the day, but that is a part of what the plan was supposed to show, some measurable goals. So it is supposed to say, okay, in this area, because we're talking about racial justice, let's be honest.
Absolutely.
We're not just talking about good policing, we're talking about racial justice. In this area, we're ticketing this amount of people. Come on in the camera, you all right. In this area, we're ticketing, this is, so let's look at changing this so that when we look at what we're doing, we're doing less tickets over here, and because we've changed some things, which is about to give me the segue into the next thing. And so hey, at the end of the day, I just wanted to be clear of why I voted no. It was not in disrespect to the people who worked on it. I really want to thank you, because it's hard work. First of all, because you danged if you do and danged if you don't. I would have said the word, but I don't know if it got bleeped and the FCC would have called me and all that kind of stuff. So you danged if you do, you danged if you don't. So those folks who worked on the commission, I got to say thank you. Because no matter what product they brought forward, somebody wasn't going to like it, right? My problem wasn't with what's in the plan, because I'll be very honest. I stopped short of finishing reading it, because, so when reporters have asked me, well, what in the plan do you want to change? No. It was about the people and the process and ensuring people were heard. And I don't just mean those who were loudest and those who had groups and those who probably were appeased by some people. This was about regular people who put us here, and ensuring that all that we do is transparent enough. By law, I can't sit down with 5 council members. If I sit down with 5 council members, it is an open meeting. If anybody ever sees 5 council members even out to dinner, it's illegal, because we could be discussing council business. When I'm in the presence of 5 council members, if the conversation goes to council stuff, I immediately say, one of us have got to remove ourselves. That's how serious I am about transparency and doing the people's work in public, because we've had too much of it done in private, where people do not trust the process or the politician. So,
and right before you segue, I was just going to say, and I think it was the Buffalo News article that was talking about the governor's executive order and the municipalities that were responding, and I think there was certain cities like Albany did 63 public meetings.
Was it 63 or 52?
63 public meetings.
So we'll split the difference. They did over 50 meetings.
But not only that, I think they talked about Ithaca and how Ithaca was keeping their armed police force, but anyone else coming on was going to be unarmed police force.
Oh, wow.
That would be more of that public safety model, going into the communities, being engaged. And I was just like, that's how you reimagine a police department. And like you said, it came from community engagement, come from public meetings and talks. And I think that's what people would respect a whole lot more.
Yeah, almost every bigger piece of legislation I've done, it was in cooperation with people. Where you have Carriel's law.
Yep.
And, you have some people, we wrote that. No, you didn't write it. You presented a proposal and then working together, even with Carriel herself, working together, we got it done. Right now, we're working on we
Right to know law.
sent to our corporation counsel, which is our lawyer, the right to know law, which basically, if a police officer stops you, he has to give you a card with his name if he doesn't give you a ticket or if you're not arrested.
Did you see the editorial this morning on it?
No, but I read it the other day.
It was terrible.
Yeah, I read. Somebody called me and told me it was coming out, so I read it online. It was online yesterday or day before.
Yep.
Yeah, yesterday. But they did say we should do it, right?
No.
Oh, they said we shouldn't do it.
No, the editorial that might have been there today was basically from someone who doesn't live in the city of Buffalo.
Oh, that's not an editorial. There was an editorial written piece.
Oh no, I'm sorry. Yeah, this
no,
is
the
a
Buffalo
letter
News.
to-
Yeah, no.
So it was basically like, this is pointless. The places that have the right to know, homicide and crime is still up 55%.
I don't think they get it. I don't think they get it. No, I know they don't get it. Right. So if you pull me over, if this law passes, you pull me over and you don't give me a ticket because your name would be on the ticket. If you don't arrest me, because I would have the arrest paper, you have to present to me a card with your name and badge number.
That's it.
And in Syracuse, it has on the back the number to call if you want to complain about that stop. The editorial board from the Buffalo News did a story.
Okay, I
and
missed
they supported it. They supported it and said that we should pass it. But let me be clear: I did not come up with that, but I sponsored the resolution. I did not come up, but my colleagues also supported the resolution unanimously for it to be written. So that's power to the people, because it was the Minority Bar Association that came to the council. These are the lawyers, y'all, that's going to represent you if you get in trouble or if you're accused of something.
And
so,
urban black men think tank.
The think tank, there was several groups that joined on with it. So then it becomes my job to bring their agenda forward into a way that it becomes law. Not just I want it as law. You have to give that person because some officers who don't want to show you, put on a coat on top. They're not supposed to. They have to identify. So my point is, when you work together, I don't think you get a better result in almost every time. I work the same way in my city job as I do in the church job. We sit around a table, we collaborate, we pull ideas out, we figure I might have one idea, and by the time we're done, it's much better than what my one idea by myself would have been. So that's just how I operate. Michelle R. Wilson Blackburn says right process. Ross says people learn when they see it in action, and he's totally right. So I think I'm done with that one. Did I beat that dead horse to death? It really isn't a dead horse.
I was going to say it's not dead
because it's police reform is just too important to. And I did get a commitment from the administration that if I wanted the commission to continue, they would. I want to see something in place, but there's no sense having a commission if you're not going to open it up to the public. You have to hear from people. That's just how I operate. I'm not saying anybody else is right or wrong. They operate the way they operate. That's how Darius G. Pridgen operates. I got a guy out there looking for me. He said he's looking for me. He broke my son's phone.
What?
He went a little, I can't say where. My son worked somewhere, and a former employee was able to breach. This is a restricted place. He was able to breach it. And I believe he's suffering with some type of mental illness, but the problem is he was in law enforcement. And so he's just walking through the hall in the area that he breached.
Wow.
Broke my son's phone and said, "Oh, and I'm looking for your father." I said, "Oh, well, everybody knows where I'm at. You know where I'm at 12. You know where I'm at. You come on by.
If you look for me, you'll find me."
What's that saying? These colors don't run. Anyway.
We don't call security and then go hide in our own. I'm sorry.
Here we go. So what do you all think about this? If the purpose of speed cams is to change behavior. And we had Councilmember Wyatt on last week, and I really, really do want to hear from people. So I'm not being petty. I'm not throwing shade. He has sent forth a proposal, and since our last meeting, it's moved forward a little further. It's going to committee, that to take the money basically for the speed cams and redo infrastructure. So what that means is where there are schools, either, and this is just some of the ideas, put in the rumble strips. We talked about that last week. Put in real big signage that you're in a school zone, and then put in the radar thing that shows you your speed and it blinks, and do some other things.
Speed bumps, narrower lanes,
right.
all that kind of stuff.
So he is not saying get rid of the cameras without there being changes, because the one thing I don't want is for people to say, well, this group of council members didn't care about student safety. We do. We really, really do. The fact of the matter is the majority of students are in the school during the day, and especially in the winter. I really don't see a whole lot of ski clubs. I don't see a lot of ski clubs in the city of Buffalo. We going outside and skiing down Jefferson. I don't see that. Now, that Jefferson Hill would be nice to ski, but I don't see it. So his proposal is that we redo the school areas, and especially if this windfall coming from the government, which is supposed to deal with infrastructure, can do it. And then start getting rid of these cameras so that people who are already paying for the infrastructure improvements, but through taxes, won't have to be penalized.
And I think the benefit to that is you're not just talking about 18 schools. You can do this at every school in the city of Buffalo.
Yep.
And everything that's been designated a school zone.
Yeah, exactly. Everything so I think that then it sends out a clear message that we truly care more about safety than we do about finances, or that we do about trying to punish you in a way that fines you. There was several attempts to do red light cameras here. They failed. Rochester had red light cams, and I believe that it was the mayor of Rochester, one of the persons, who said no, it was unfairly penalizing people of color. I would, we're going to see the data, but the problem with the data, of course, is that you don't know. And maybe that's the problem or the benefit, because some people say, well, the cameras are not prejudiced. They just read your speed. They don't know if you're black or white. I agree with that. However, I think if we look, we really have to do a deep dive. And for the rest of the time I'm on the council, everything is a deep dive. Everything is a deep dive now. Deep dive into the zip codes is coming from, where people are being fined from, those type of things. Because I've said it before, I'll say it again, if I live in Clarence Center and I work in Buffalo, I'm not coming down Bailey, I'm not coming down Jefferson, I'm getting on the 33, and by the time I get off, unless I come down Elmwood, I'm not hitting those speed cams. So the people who hitting the speed cams. And one thing that Commissioner Helfer said, that behavior is changing, which is a good thing. That behavior, that people are slowing down in those speed zones. And let me say this. I think that people who speed through neighborhoods, whatever you get, and I mean speed. I'm not talking about this crawl speed of this 15. I'm talking about the cars that I hear riding down Northampton at 70 miles an hour. You should get a good ticket. You shouldn't get a speed zone ticket. You need to get one of those good tickets that go put a mark on your license, period. Because that's about safety, and our children are out here playing. And so I'm all for whatever we can do to change driver behavior. Now I'm surprised I ain't got no ticket yet going through. I'm surprised.
Now, I'll be honest, and I think someone made the comment, I can't remember if it was in a council meeting or in another meeting, and it basically was like, it challenged the compliance number, because we all know statistics can be manipulated by those reading the statistics. And so we could say compliance is at 98, 99%. But you have someone like me, I don't go through a speed zone camera if I know they're active. Like, I will literally go to practice at 3:31.
Absolutely.
Because I know the camera's turned off.
Well,
And
I go all the way to home. I mean, to the city hall. I won't go to Elmwood.
yeah.
I'll go Delaware because I know Elmwood.
So, and I think the comment was made like, are people really slowing down, or is it just simply people know where the cameras are and they're avoiding it? So if one of the bases to select this was traffic count, and traffic count is just falling because people are avoiding, then compliance numbers look high.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So you're totally right. I mean, you could throw numbers out there. But I think that Councilmember Wyatt's proposal is very interesting.
Absolutely.
And that if we are really serious, that we're trying to just change driver behavior, of looking at other ways to change driver behavior, and phasing out this camera. Now, I'm for it. I think that if we are serious in what we're saying and sincere, that is very, very important to do. A lot of folks, we got money right now, not we, but, stimulus money coming through. A lot of folks that complain, but when the stimulus isn't there and families are struggling, especially if the people who are getting the tickets most, and I know here's what somebody was saying, I agree, then slow down. First of all, the speed limit as it is right now, to me, is dangerous to go down from 30 to 15 as soon as you see it.
Absolutely.
And I think that at times may be, because now you're talking about rearing collisions and all that kind of stuff possibly.
And the lady that, the constituent that called the office, she had said, like, there's that part of Main Street, you're at 30. For 2 blocks. Then for 2 blocks, you're at 15. Then 2 blocks later, you're back to 30. Then another 2 blocks, you're back to 15. Because there's all those schools back to back.
Absolutely.
So her proposal was then just make all of that whole strip of Main Street 15 or 20 miles per hour, because just to keep jerking back and forth on the speed limit, like you said, is dangerous to the driver.
I think it is. I'll give you all a few minutes if you want to call in. It's 716-895-8222. Extension, is this the right one? Yep. Extension 223. 895-8222, extension 223. I think Renato wanted to call in real quick, or some other folks. 895-8222, extension 223. So yeah, I think I almost covered everything. The trial, and you can be a part if you want to talk about speed cams or Rashid, Councilmember Wyatt's proposal by calling. Well, obviously City Hall is closed today. You can call our council staff's office. I don't have it offhand, but you know about how
5105.
851-5105 if you wanted to be included in the conversation. Because what happens a lot of times, people will complain, but when given the opportunity, is that mine?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna mess it up. But you're in the air. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hold on, we're gonna get you a mic. I announced. All right. What's up, Brother Graham?
You got me?
Oh yeah, we got you too loud. Okay, now we got you. No, that's our fault.
I got a good phone. Basically, I just wanted to say that I'm the security and safety chair in the resident engagement at DMHA. And we have a brand new contract with the police department with community officers. And I believe I don't know his title, captain, chief, whatever it is. We're going to meet. My first committee meeting is going to be on the 8th of April. And I want the residents to be part of the beginning of it because it's new and they're new people. And I want the officers to get out their cars, go into the community, meet the community, go in the senior buildings, to have a relationship with them. And I want the community to be able to have input into how the policing would function. And I don't want them to ticket the residents and things like that, but if they need to, I want to give the residents an opportunity to correct problems. For example, like if cars are old or motorcycles are parked out there and they're not licensed or anything like that, I just don't want them to be ticketed. I want them to have an opportunity to change. And for example, we get data to know where the crimes are being committed at and happening at. And I want the people to know that at some point we're going to start enforcing the law and give them a chance to stop doing whatever illegal things that they're doing. But basically what I'm saying is we're open to the public, and I want to hear from them, and I want them to be part of the process.
Thank you, brother. I mean, you're doing a fantastic job, and you have stayed the course. You know, a lot of people do the talking, you do the walking and the talking, and I appreciate that. So thank you very much for that, and thanks for calling in.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, he stays on the wall, and he works hard. He's another one that works hard for the people, and he listens to the people. And I think the more we can elevate that type of, when you're in power, of elevating that, listen to the people who put, even if you don't make the change or you can't make the change, the worst thing to do is to not listen at all. Absolutely. So please listen to the people. Don't forget, I'm still waiting for a restaurant to feed us. Mm-hmm. If you want to feed us, we will absolutely show your food on air, and we're gonna critique it. I'm never gonna say anything bad, by the way, but I'm gonna talk about all the good stuff. And if it's that bad, you shouldn't be open. So, but you have to be a licensed restaurant for me to send folks to you. You got to be a licensed restaurant.
So I was getting ready to say, I do have a food story. How much time we got left? So I'll make it quick because somebody was talking about getting a certain type of food. So I was like, oh, that do sound good. I'm going to run over there and get some food. So on my way, I placed the order online. It told me it would be ready in 15 minutes. So I stopped by the church all happy, like, yeah, I'm getting ready to get some good food. Chairman Long says, oh, yeah, that's not going to be ready in 15 minutes. So I was like, what? He's like, no, my order right here says 15 minutes. He's like, nah, it's not going to be, that's not the move. So I'm like, okay, leave church, go over to the establishment. I was in and out of the establishment 4 times. I ended up waiting an hour and a half. And I couldn't go home.
Yeah. Now your mouth watering, you can smell it, couldn't you?
Yeah, and I couldn't go home. But here was the part of the story that was actually funny. So there was a guy who was waiting there longer than me. So as all of our anger is building, all of he says, hey, bro, I ain't got a problem with you getting your food, but if mine is not X, there's going to be smoke in the city. And I was just like, oh, okay. I was like, oh,
I don't feel like fighting. I don't own the place. I just came to get my food.
So, but he was saying, like, I don't have a problem with you getting your food, but, like, if mine's not next, it's going to be a situation. And I was just like, just because you can cook might not mean you need a restaurant.
Yeah. I think that, especially during COVID, you know, here I come down the middle, right? I think that you have restaurants who don't know at times what to expect. Yeah. Because they've been down so long, and then they had to let go of employees. Mm-hmm. And now they are without, because I talked to a restaurant the other day, an owner, and they said to me, we don't have employees anymore, because now, you know, with the unemployment and people getting extra money on unemployment, sometimes they make more money on unemployment than going back to work. Speaking of going to work, Hobson's, the doctor of dry cleaning. Listen, and I know Mike is listening, but he was supposed to pick up my clothes. It was my fault. Mike caught me 3 times, but this has been a heck of a week. So, Mike, thank you. He gets it over to. This is where he takes my clothes. Hobson's, the doctor of dry cleaning. 874 East Delavan. That's the place you got to go. Hobson's, the doctor of dry cleaning. In your hour of need, Brian K. Lewis Funeral Homes. 3 locations to serve you. 347 Peckham, 2528 Bailey, and 1275 Sycamore. This week, they took care of the Pearsall family and the Marquez family. Marquez took care of them. In your hour of need is Brian K. Lewis Funeral Home. Listen, today is Good Friday in the Christian community.
I was going to say, put them on the cross. Sir.
Yeah, you got it. Today is Good Friday. A friend of mine in government, after all of these week's events and just being in government, said to me, wow, all of this happens on Holy Week. At the end of the day, if you're really going to serve God and you're really going to serve people, it does sometimes mean being odd man out. It does mean being criticized. It does mean at times people trying to take you out. But if you really believe in God, if you really believe in Jesus Christ, then you have to carry that crown, that cross. Some people want to wear the crown, but don't carry the cross. The crown will come later. But there's got to be somebody who's a believer, who's not in it for the money, who's not in it for the power, who's not in it for the prestige, but is actually in it for people's lives to be better. And anything you're going to do that's going to make people's lives better, it may be stressful on yours, but always remember the saying, no cross, no crown. We thank God for his son Jesus, for him dying on the cross. But don't worry, Sunday morning is coming. Until then, power to the people.